Okay, so we've introduced the concept of session plans to you, and it's one of the probably 2 or 3 most critical skills that you're going to learn in this course. It's really important that you need to know how to develop fantastic session plans, because to be honest, a lot of the session plans out there in the RTO world, sometimes not so good. But we want to show you how to develop really good session plans that will be able to be used consistently by you and by others who might fill in for you when you're away and not able to perform your training. So it's as simple as breaking it down to 7 steps to success. And as the side says, there's 7 steps. You get these right, then you'll be able to make awesome session plans. So let's get started. And what we're going to do is we're going to fill in 7 of these panes here as a visual reference to help you out. So visual learners, we've got you covered. All right, let's start logically up in the top left-hand corner with number 1. And number 1 is, before you can develop a good session plan, you need to know what the objective is. You need to clarify that objective. What is this session plan going to cover? What is the goal? What are we going to try and teach people with this session we're developing? It's like focusing in on that target and shooting your arrow. You want to be right in the middle. You want to make sure that you're actually going to develop the session that's of value to your learners. So specify that objective. Write it down. Doesn't have to be lengthy, doesn't have to be long, but keep it simple and specify that objective in a nice, clear sentence is usually a very good starting point to developing a good session plan, so that you know what the goal is and you're more likely to get there. Number 2 is the content. And it looks like a book in our little graphic, but you need to have that information. You need to know what the content is going to be that you're going to be covering in the session. You need to write it down. You need to brainstorm, think it through, jot it down. What is it that we're going to cover in this content? And don't just think the boring stuff. Also think creatively. Okay, what activities and what extra information, what resources are we going to refer people to? What other things that we're going to do to put in this session to cover the content and to make it interesting? Then step 3 is pretty simple. You sequence it. You put it in order. As you can see on the graphic here, it's about getting the layers right. It's about starting with that introduction, working your way through the body of the content where you introduce all of the content, and then concluding it at the end. After you've done all the assessments, after you've presented all the content, then that summary at the end. And in one of my previous videos, the Remembering Quiz 1, I talked about the importance of primacy and recency. The introduction is important because people will remember it. It's at the start, and the summary is important as well because people will remember what's at the end. So have that introduction, have that summary, have all the content in the middle in the body. You'll be in great shape. The other word that's commonly used with respect to session planning these days, the trendy word, is scaffolding. Build sessions so they build upon themselves. Have the references in the introduction as to what you're going to cover, then scaffold into the detailed content, and then scaffold again at the end and summarize what you've covered and what that content was about. All right, we're up to number 4, which is the delivery methods, the methods. There's lots of ways you can deliver content. Don't be boring. Use lots of variety. Think through the delivery methods that are going to appeal to people with different learning styles, and have variety as you move through the session to make it interesting. Assign those methods to all of the different pieces of sequenced content. Lay it all out step by step like a recipe so that your learners have the opportunity to benefit from your planning. Number 5 is time. And it's not just the overall time which is important here, but the timings for each individual line item as well. It keeps you on track. How long is each component in your introduction going to take? How long is each component going to take all the way through the session? Add it all up, then look at it, look at the total and go, is it consistent with what I was expecting? Is it going to work? Is it achievable to teach all this information and reinforce all this information within the time that I've got allowed? Make it achievable, make it realistic. Number 6 is the resources. In order to present this content, what resources am I going to have to take with me? What's available in the room? What else am I going to have to take? Where am I going to be using the resources? Lay them out and line them up so that you're ready to go and you know you're going to have that list of resources available to you when you're looking at the session plan. So when you're planning to go, you've got everything you need to deliver the session. No good getting 3/4 of the way through and saying, oh, I need a flip chart. I didn't bring a flip chart. You don't want that to happen. Lay it all out in your planning and write it down so you can't go wrong. Make it easy for yourself. And number 7, the final step is assessment. Now, you might be thinking, oh, I don't need to formally assess this type of session. I just want to run the session. That's fine. You can do that. It is an option. But it is unusual to have a high-quality session where there's not some type of assessment. Doesn't necessarily need to be a formal assessment, but you want to have something to verify that your learners are understanding what you're teaching. And if you don't have some type of assessment, then you're leaving yourself at risk of doing all this training and providing all this content, but unfortunately, your learners had no idea about what you taught them and didn't remember it. So it's a good idea to actively consider having some assessment in every session plan that you develop. They're the 7 steps for success. If you follow those 7 steps, if you follow this recipe, you're bound to make terrific session plans and your students are going to love you for it.